So there is mass confusion. There is no doubt about that. It is very complicated. I have a master's degree in public administration from Harvard, which got slapped by Trump today, and we'll report that in a little while. And when I was studying in Cambridge, I hated macroeconomics. It was horrible because it was so difficult to learn all these systems. I forced myself to do it, and I know, I'm not saying I'm an economist, but I know how the world works. And most other people don't, including seasoned journalists. So you may remember last week we had a guy named Dr. Nicholas Lardy. He was an expert on the Chinese economy, very smart guy, okay? And he disagreed with me about how China is handling all the dollars it gets every year from the USA. So I'll remind you of how much that is. We do $463 billion in trade with China. Okay? 463. And then Chinese investment. They buy savings bonds, they buy land, they buy securities. That's 127 billion going back to China every year in interest payments and dividends, things like that. That's $600 billion a year going into Beijing. The Communist Party runs that economy. It's a colossal amount. Anyway, I believe, and I think I can prove it, but I believe strongly, much of that money, those dollars, being used to build up the ferocious Chinese military. And this is what Lardy and I discussed. Roll it. What about the war machine? Are you worried about the Chinese war machine?
Well, they're ramping up their military expenditures, and it's been going on for a decade. Quite frankly, not very much of it is financed by the 600 or 700 billion we send to China. They have their domestic economy is 12, 13 trillion. So a few hundred billion coming from the United States is not a decisive factor.
No, I did not call Lardy on that because I don't have the stats because the Chinese government doesn't put them out. They don't say, hey, we expend this much on our military and this percentage coming from the USA. That doesn't happen in a communist regime. They do what they want and then nobody knows about it. But yesterday, Victor Davis Hanson, who I believe is the strongest columnist in America, wrote this, quote, NATO, the EU, Japan, South Korea, Australia, and the US are also curious as to why China is using its vast foreign exchange not to lift about a quarter of its population out of third world level poverty. Instead, it is frantically building 3 to 4 nuclear bombs a month, a 700 ship navy, and 2,500 combat aircraft as it ratchets up pressure on Taiwan, unquote. Well, there you go. Hanson agrees with me. Okay? And I don't know whether he heard my interview with Dr. Lardy. He might have. But I don't think there's any doubt that US dollars are fueling our enemy's military. Now, do you think most people know that? Has that been widely reported in the American press? No. People don't have a clue, not a scintilla of what is going on here. Trump knows because I talked to him about it, right? Now, I was on Leland Vitter's program on News Nation last night, and I'm on News Nation on Monday at 9 and with Cuomo Wednesdays 8:15. And it's worth you guys checking that out. Anyway, Leland is a very smart guy with a lot of experience abroad, a foreign correspondent for Fox in the Middle East for a long time. And here's what we were talking about vis-a-vis the tariffs. Go.
The money from tariffs doesn't come from overseas. The money for tariffs comes from all of us. And I think that's part of this inconsistency. You say it doesn't matter.
That's not right, Leland. So the United States Treasury gets the money that Mercedes pays on the tariffs from its cars coming into the USA. And that's what Trump wants. He wants more money coming in than going out. Now, he's not going to achieve that goal. It's impossible to achieve it. But he'll cut it 50, 60%, I'm pretty sure, over the next 6 months or so. Now, Leland, as I said, is one of the smartest of the pundits on television. He doesn't know how it works. So I'm sitting here every night and reporting to you and watching this insanity on television. It's the dumbest stuff I've ever heard, because the media has now made this into a political thing, not an economics thing. Trump bad. Tariffs bad. Because Trump's bad. And I'm sitting there going, you have no idea what is happening in this world and how our enemies are being strengthened by this unfair trade system. You don't know. And worst of all, you don't care. And I'm talking to the network news and CNN and MSNBC and to some extent Fox. Because the mistake that Fox News makes is that it just rubber stamps everything Trump does. You can't. You got to cut through all of this special interest stuff and bring legitimate information and analysis and clarity to you, the American people. Okay, so I think we're doing a pretty good job of that. And the final thing in this whole thing is Donald Trump knows his entire legacy is on the line here with this tariff stuff. If it succeeds and the American economy booms in the latter half of this year, which Trump believes will happen, okay, then he's going to go down alongside Ronald Reagan. If our country falls into a recession, it is over for Trump's legacy. The Republicans will lose the midterms, and he'll just be a lame duck for 2 years. That is what is at stake. How huge is that? And that's the memo. Thank you for watching. Make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel and follow me on X. Look for @Bill O'Reilly.